Now, I get a question and quite a number of comments, usually to my face or on Kirsten's video about this house. And they always involve doing up the house to its former glory. He should do this, he should do that, he should paint it up. Oh, when he finishes it, it'll look nice. I'm not going to do much more on this building. Oh, but it's an investment, you could do it up, blah, 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 blah. You should bring it back to its former glory. It's not going to happen. Oh, but if you'd done it up, then it'd be nice. It's not going to happen. Why? I'll tell you why. There's certain parts in this place that are just beyond it. Oh, but you could do them up. No, in actual fact, you couldn't do these bits up. Quite simply, there's a saying that I heard on a movie. It was actually one that Troy and a few of his friends were watching when I was up in Coffs Harbour. And it was a Tom Hanks movie, and him and his girlfriend get this house from this little old lady selling it dirt cheap, selling it right now. And they get it, and it looks great, and after they buy it, everything starts falling to bits, and it's a nightmare, and everything just goes from bad to worse. And it's all the ridiculously over-exaggerated dramas of doing up this old house. And in the end, the house gets done up. And his girlfriend, who he ends up proposing to, says to the builder, one of the builders says a phrase to Tom Hanks' girlfriend about the building at the end of the movie. And if you've been involved in renovating houses, if you've been in the building industry, if you've even had a house that you've renovated, you may have heard this one from builders before. And it's a certain phrase that I'm not going to say, but if you know what that phrase is, that's the real reason why I'm not fixing this house up any further. And quite simply, it's throwing good money behind bad. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I'd be wasting money to spend more money fixing up this house. There was a bloke who I work with, and he had a car, and he liked to keep that car spot on. Now, the car was getting fairly old, and it reminds me a little bit of Troy's tribulations with the Honda. Wanted to keep it spot on, wanted to keep it for long term, put in this part, that part, new tyre at ends, the exhaust, bang, 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 cut rust out of it and all that. And at the end of the day, it just didn't happen. And it was the same with this bloke. He spent $2,500 not on a reconditioned transmission, but on a new one, because if you look after these vehicles, they'll keep going for a long time. But this car was basically reaching the end of its lifespan, but he wanted to look after it. 1 week after he spent $2,500 on a new transmission, not a reconditioned one, a brand spanking new one, the engine blew up. It was about that time he realised that if he was to go and put a new engine in it, he'd be throwing good money behind bad, and he went out and got a newer vehicle. It's pretty much the same with this house. It'd be pointless to spend more money on it. A woman said to me recently, what you should do is go and buy new materials to fix the house up, and then you can use those new materials building a new house. Why would you go and get a whole heap of brand new roof sheets and put all these holes through them and then have to silicone all these holes up when you build a new house? And why would you build a new house with sheets that are 10 years old off another house? It doesn't make any sense. In 2020 or 2022 or sometime around there, I intend to build a new house. I'm not going to waste new materials on an old house to then put what is now second-hand materials on a brand new place. It's just pointless. I also get another one. You should paint the bedroom or paint the walls or repaint the insides of the place. I repainted the outsides of the place just to make the local government happy so they wouldn't go and get gnarly about it. They still value the place at $0, but at least it looks aesthetically pleasing from the outside. From the inside, however, it usually looks like a lot of plywood. And in this room, I had basically palings. I've still got them on the ceiling. On this wall, which is mainly got the stove and the kitchen table and another end table backed up against it, and a little bit on the end above the fireplace and a little bit on the other end that are palings. I did try and sand some of these back. There was that much bloomin' soot, sap, old crap on them, lead paint and whatnot, that I just didn't bother. I went through that much sandpaper to get nowhere. I just thought, I'm not going to do it on any more of this room. And quite frankly, there's so much soot that it's basically not soot, it's smoke stains, and it's perfectly stained a colour. But it would have been a sort of a drab, light grey or off cream or something like that. And now it's basically an even looking brown because of the smoke stains. And this is what has happened after so many years, getting close on probably closing in on 100 years of using an open fire in this room. That's what's happened. I could paint it, but it'd take a lot to sand it back and all that. And it's all lead paint, you'd be sanding back, which is what I've done with the outsides. I didn't sand that all. I actually got a wire brush under it. And there was a lot of dust and cobwebs, and I wire brushed all the paint that was going to come off of it, and then went over with an air compressor and blew any of the dust off before I repainted it. So the new paint's on quite good, and there's actually 3 coats. Usually only put 2 coats, but I put a 3rd coat on because there's, I think it was only a 3rd coat in some areas that looked a little bit thin. But yeah, there's 2 to 3 coats on it. On the back wall, there's actually 3 coats on that, 3 good coats on it. But, I'm not too worried because the plywood doesn't look too bad. I'm looking at wood grain. Now, I've noticed something, and one of my subscribers has talked to me about this. That seems so funny. People go and get old furniture, and it's got paint all over it. Heaps of paint, like blooming 6 layers or something like this. And they get, I'm going to get this furniture and I'm going to do it up. So they go like hell and they sand until they give themselves tennis elbow, an RSI or carpal tunnel or something like that. And they finally sand it all off and they bring it back to perfect, lovely wood grain, and then they varnish it so you can see the wood grain. Then the same people can look at something with wood grain exposed, not out in the weather, not going to get damaged by the rain, but they look at something with the wood grain exposed, and the first thing they want to do is cover it in paint. So let me get this straight. If it's got paint on it, you've got to strip the paint off so you can see the wood grain. If you can see the wood grain, that's all wrong, and you should put paint on it. So the paint's on there, we've got to get it off to see the wood grain. If it's plain wood grain, you've got to get paint on there because the wood grain should be covered with paint. Is this the most screwed up catch-22 sort of equation that just leads to people buying a whole stack of paint and a whole stack of varnish and a whole stack of blooming tennis elbow that they never needed to have? It doesn't really make that much sense. Yeah, and if a girlfriend comes here and moves in or whatever and she wants to do it, I'll tell her that. She may get the idea that she changes her mind after I tell her that and explain the logic of that to her. She may get the idea she wants to get rid of lead paint on the ceiling here to see the wood grain. Or she may just decide that she wants the whole lot painted the same colour, so the place has got no character and it looks as boring as most of these plaster houses that I've worked on, that are just sheets of plaster, all the same colour, room after room after room. But, if I have a girlfriend or wife and they really want to do that, yeah, they can. They can go and paint it. I'll spend $100 on that, no worries, just for their peace of mind. But to me, it's not really an issue. Now, I think this building will last till 2020, 2022. It may even last longer. It could last just about to 2030. I think she'd be just about stuffed by then. Might only go to 2025 maximum, but, you know, what happens if it falls down, you may ask? Well, if I see signs of it, anything going on, you know, I'll make attempts to get it sorted, you know, if it gets much worse, just to keep it going long enough until I get another house, which is the plan in 2020, 2025. You know, and I'm going to build a place with the netting in the right places to make it mouse-proof, as I have with my storage area and the laundry. You know, this place has a lot of spiders and a lot of mice and that, you know, because I never worried about all that stuff back then. But, you know, if something was to happen big time, I've actually deliberately cut tree branches so that no tree is actually tall enough to collapse onto this place if a tree comes down. But if something big was to happen when I was on holidays and I come back to a flattened house, it wouldn't really worry me that much. That storage area, which is actually reasonably big, and you guys haven't seen it, and the laundry, which you have seen, that whole thing, that whole shed is about the size of a single car garage. It's actually slightly longer but a bit skinnier. And to build that completely, you know, to get all the things done, it was about 5 days or something like that. To build things, to me, with my experience, is no big deal because I've done it before. Realistically, you know, if something happened to the house that I didn't get a chance to fix up because I was away on holidays and I come back, or there's something colossal happened, you know, big time, blooming hit by lightning, tornado, you know, something real bad, fell down while I was on holidays, something like that. It wouldn't really matter a damn to me because I can build things so quick. Furthermore, I've got a bathroom in this house, but I've got another bathroom outside, and the toilet is also outside in two other small buildings, just small sheds. And then I just move into the cardboard house. No big deal. I've still got a bathroom, toilet, and a house, you know, cooking facilities, fan, heating, blah, blah, blah. Got all that in a cardboard house. I just move in the cardboard house. Wouldn't matter a crap. I would probably then go ahead and build a larger portable house or a series of several of them, you know, that were basically rooms that were side by side, individual buildings, but you'd never know except for a blooming 4-inch rubber seal between the rooms. If I needed to extend this house, because, you know, to me, it's barely enough room for me. I think I could do me and a girlfriend, no big deal, and maybe a baby. But look, if you had, you know, a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old kid, and a girlfriend and me, it'd probably be a bit too cramped. I think it would be anyway. Tiny house people may disagree. They may be fine with it because it's in the realm of tiny houses. It's sort of bigger than many of these tiny houses. But if I wanted to extend it, or I had to extend it, there's an easy way of getting around all this legally. And what it is, it's portable buildings. Now, ATCO huts, or dongas as they're sometimes known, that's an option. They're too damn expensive. Having said that, I do have the panelling for a cool room, which is essentially the same panelling used for that, and all you need is great big aluminium angle and a whole bunch of rivets and a bunch of silicone, and you got one. You got exactly an ATCO hut. And yeah, you got to make a door, but you know, I've got hinges and everything for that as well. Now, what I could do is use something like that, or a building that I've built on skids, which I've seen these buildings before, and that's essentially what the cardboard house is. It's a building that's on skids, which classifies as a portable building, or a shipping container, and basically slide it up beside the house, put a little bit of a porch, and, you know, rubber seals, or do what You know, you need the porch to just sort of slightly overlap the portable building with a little bit of overhang. Or you'd need what Troy uses, which, you know, for his woodshed against the RV, which is the foam mattress material. There's another way too. I can get a certain sort of plastic and put a bit of that around so it won't affect the actual outside of the portable building permanently, or I can just scrape it off later. And that is, or you can actually use a bit of sticky tape and back it up against the sticky tape so it doesn't matter. And that is this stuff. Now you may know this is great stuff in the US. We've got about 3 or 4 brands of it, and this is a huge can of it that I haven't finished using. And what you do is you basically use this between the porch and the portable building that you effectively use to make an extension on this house without actually having to go through the permits and the crap, and it actually being a real extension because it's just a portable building on skids, and all you've done is put a bit of this in the way, or a slight porch and this stuff, to basically make another room on this house. Legally, no permits, no BS. And that's what I do if I needed to make another room. But, you know, there's plans in the works that when I finish paying this place off, I'm going to start saving up for a rock block building. I've even worked out where I want to put it and everything. Haven't quite worked out the design and all that, but I've got plenty of years to do that still. And then I'll move into that place, you know, and yeah, it'll be well sealed. Hopefully no mice issues. I'll put netting in the appropriate places for it. Steel framed as well. And probably no spiders either. Because when you build a new house, if you get it sealed properly, you don't have the same problems that this place will have with mice and spiders, if you do it properly. So yeah, you know, that's sort of why I'm not going gung-ho on fixing this place up. You know, and everybody sort of has these dreams. But look, I've spent 8 years in the building industry. I didn't talk about it, but I have seen some incredibly stupid people, pen pushers, the whole lot of them, some of them housewives, who honestly, one of them there wouldn't have even understood the electrical circuitry of your basic torch. Some of the things that were said to me and my workmates. A lot of people, you know, like that don't quite understand what I know, what I've seen, and why I know that this place is just throwing good money after bad. And that's why I'm not sort of spending so much money on it. Furthermore, a lot of these people don't live on the same economic principles that I do, which is live within your means. Now, this is why that I don't have a great deal of troubles when it comes to living on welfare money, because I can live within my means. I'm also a person who actually puts a little bit of money aside, you know, has that rare thing that the odd American has but very few have, that so many Australians are lacking these days, and it's called savings. You know, I like to have a bit of money to fall back on at all times, even though I still have debt, because I've got to make mortgage payments now when I'm on welfare, and I can actually cover those payments with welfare, but I don't want to have to rely on that because I've also got a number of other bills coming up, registration for the backup car, and a few other bits and pieces. But yeah, that's sort of an explanation of why I'm not going gung-ho fixing this house up, because not only is it throwing good money behind bad, you know, it intrinsically is not worth fixing up, and it's not big enough for a whole family to live in. I mean, it's barely big enough for me. And yeah, there you go.